Hey sis, welcome to my channel. I am Yanique, and over on TikTok, we've been having this conversation about how important it is to have really good friends, to build your tribe and your sisterhood, and how valuable that has been for my life. And I've gotten quite a few questions about, girl, where are you finding these friends at? How are you building these friendships, especially in adulthood? I am going to be doing a little bit of a get ready with me for my Valentine's Day event while we go through this conversation from my perspective, my point of view, because while I still do have friendships from my childhood, I have quite a bit of friends that I've made in my adulthood. So I'm just going to be walking you through that process, what that looked like for me, and I hope that that can help you along the way. So without further ado, let's hop right into this chit chat. Get ready with me. So the outfit that I'm thinking for this Valentine's Day event, I think is going to look really nice with an updo. So we're going to do an effortless bun, which is a really good hairstyle if you have like some old bundles and you want to reuse them. So I'm just going to put away this section while I work on the bun and while we get into our topic at hand. In our adulthood, you've probably experienced this for yourself, especially if you clicked on this video because of the topic, that it is so much harder to make friendships now because our lives are so busy. And if you're new here, hi girl, I'm an introvert. I am not the girl who's going to walk into the room and just talk to any and everybody. Like, that's just not within my nature. And then I'm not going to say I have trust issues. I just do not open up very easily. I'm a great listener. We gonna sit down. I'm going to ask you lots of great questions. We're going to have a great conversation because we're talking about you. Okay? So it does take me a little while longer to form actual relationships, which is not a bad thing, but I do want you to know, if you have a similar personality like I do, you are going to have to learn to be okay with being uncomfortable. I'm not saying pretend to be somebody that you're not, because if you're really trying to form a tribe, right? If you're really trying to form connections with your people, you cannot form those connections based off of something that you're not, right? And so the first thing that you need to do is to join clubs or organizations around your actual interests, because you want to meet people based around those interests, based around your actual lifestyle, not the one time that you went to the club or some party or event, because that might be her normal, sis. That might be her lifestyle. And unless you are willing to always be down for those type of situations or activities, you don't need to be finding friends in the club. Now, you're going to notice while I'm doing this that I'm not putting any like wax or hairspray into my hair, because this is a temporary hairstyle for me. If you want this to last more than just the couple of hours, you can definitely hairspray it down or use a wax stick. Get your edges together. That's just not the look that I'm going for today. Taking my weft, I'm folding my weft in half. See how it's doubled because I just folded it in half, but I'm taking here from both parts to make this sturdy, and I'm going to wrap this around the base of my hair first before I wrap the entire weft. I actually met my best friend when I was part of the caking community. I used to own a at-home bakery where I would make custom cakes. And so none of my friends at that time were into cake or baking or any of those things. And I really wanted to find other like-minded people or people in that community to, talk about dealing with customers and cake issues and what have you. And so the natural thing for me to do was to seek out those type of communities online. So I think that's the first thing that you want to do. Join online communities. That's probably the easiest step. You can literally do that today, right now, as you're listening to this video. Online communities make it so much easier for us to make those connections around our interests, but I don't want you to stop there. My friend and I, we connected online in these communities. She actually used to do Periscope Lives. Is that what they were called? I don't remember. Y'all remember what Periscope used to be called? She had her own little Periscope Live situation going on. And she is actually an extrovert. Like, she's naturally an extrovert. She loves connecting with people. And she had just moved to Georgia at this time. So she hosted a meetup. Like, she literally just picked a location and said, if you want to meet up, we're going to meet up here. You should come. Now, this is where you really have to step outside your comfort zone if you're like me and are an introvert, okay? Because it is so much easier for us to just stay in the house and keep those connections online. But if you are really looking for your tribe, girl, you have to actually meet these people. Obviously, do it in a safe way. Like I said, I went to a meetup, so it was a group situation. My husband knew where I was going, where I was going to be at. We went, it was a public setting. It wasn't like I met up at somebody's house. I'm not doing that. Even if it's a girl thing, I'm not doing that, because y'all know that they snatch folks out here for real. Another way to do this safely is by joining clubs and organizations locally to you where you're volunteering. Oh, volunteering is such a great way to meet people with like-minded interests. Just make sure they're not volunteering for because of community service. You know that I am a faith-based person. Me and God is like this. So volunteering through the church is another way that I have met people. You can also find people by signing up for classes around your hobbies. In the last couple of months, I started attending a dance class. It's for exercise, but it's more of like, you know, I love dancing. It just works out that is my exercise thing. But I was looking for a fun thing to do that was outside of anything I can monetize. Like, I'm not trying to monetize dance in any kind of way, right? It's just a fun thing for me to do. But through that, I've been able to meet so many women who also love dancing. This is like their fun thing. And that's another way to make those kind of connections. So it really is not hard to find people. There are people all around us. There are people who are interested in similar things that you are interested in. You have to go where the people are. You have to be okay with stepping outside of your house or stepping outside of your comfort zone in order to meet these people. Another good way is like finding events to go through, like through Eventbrite. You can filter your search for certain events or certain types of events on Eventbrite, and it'll continue to update you on things that's happening in your area. So for me, I like to attend Tabitha's Tea Party, which is a gathering of spirit-led women who, you know, come together to support each other, and it's a really good experience, and it helps you mingle with people who already like have your same interest or are looking for people just like how you're looking for people, looking for a support group, looking for a tribe. Now, if you're not ready to step out on your own solo dolo to these different classes or events or organizational meetings, you can rely on the friendship that you already have, right? That means meeting your friends' friends or their acquaintances, attending their get-togethers or their parties so that you can meet their acquaintances, because it's likely if you share friends that you might have things in common. So that might be a good approach as well if you're a little bit more shy and are just not ready to take that step of going outside by yourself to make connections. So let's go into that now as we transition into makeup. I brought you in a little closer, sis, for the makeup portion. Again, still looking at my mirror, but we here. I'm going in with good old faithful Milk Hydro Grip. You know, that is my primer of choice. But I'm feeling a little nostalgia right now because L'Oreal sent me their True Match foundation, and that's actually the first foundation I ever used. That used to be my foundation of choice for my performance makeup when I used to dance or when I was a majorette in high school. So I'm having a little bit of nostalgia. They did send me 3 different shades. So I have W5, which I want to say I used to use W6 in high school, but I used to spend a lot more time outside, and I'm not that dark anymore. Then they also sent me shade N5 and N6. So we are going to see what shade works the best for me as we continue our little chit chat. So now you know how to find the people. Now you need to connect with them. And this is, I don't want to say it's the hard part, because honestly, I think the hard part is maintaining friendships. If you are in a situation like me where you are not the most open person, you do have to get a little uncomfortable, because you do have to be able to have a level of vulnerability to make those connections with people. But we're going to talk about how to do it in a way where it doesn't open you up to being hurt over and over again. Okay, we're gonna be smart about how we choose to be vulnerable. You see this disrespectful situation that's on my face and not paying rent, and it's so red because that's what my pimples look like. They pop up and they want to be in your face. Stop signs is what they want to be. Ugh. So we're gonna make sure we cover that. So, oh, I never applied my concealer, y'all. I was so excited to go in with foundation. I forgot to apply my concealer, so I'm just going to leave that space empty for concealer. I've kind of gotten away from applying foundation on my forehead, but I've been having a couple of breakouts, so I need a little bit more coverage on my forehead. So I'm not adding any more product to my brush. I'm just putting the leftover up there. Okay. Where were we? Oh, how to be vulnerable without getting hurt over and over again. Okay. You have to go into these situations, not necessarily testing people, but with your boundaries in place and sharing first things that you are comfortable with sharing, or things that you're comfortable being repeated. When you first meet people, you are not in a situation where you can trust them with your whole life, with your deep, dark secrets. So you want to start with just sharing things that you are okay being repeated somewhere else. Okay? Sometimes, especially when you're dealing with shyness, or you're a little afraid to be open, we can go into protective mode and find ourselves not even sharing past the basics. So the basics are like what you do, where you live, because the goal here is to find people to become part of your tribe, right? Like to make genuine connections. You don't want to focus so much on what your roles are at work or what you do for a living. That can be a little bit tricky, because if you look like an asset to people, sometimes they can be trying to get to know you based off what you do. That is why I recommend trying to build connections based around activities or hobbies, those kind of things, because from there you can go deeper, right? Like once I trust you within this hobby space, then I feel a little bit more comfortable going deeper. So for example, with my best friend, we met around something that's so superficial. Cake. We talking flour, sugar, fondant, the basics, right? I'm putting another layer of N6 only because I have those spots that I really want to get covered, is why I'm going in those areas with a little bit more product. We started a really superficial, but we were able to dig deeper or go deeper just by like sharing stories, childhood, comparing how we were raised, where we were raised. She grew up in Florida. I grew up here in Georgia. I grew up in a strict Pentecostal Jamaican household. She did not. She grew up with a plethora of cultures, and her parents were not as strict as mine. So it was very fun comparing those situations, how our lives were different, how they were similar. She was a recent mom. Her son was only a couple of months old. At that point, I had already had 2 kids. So we were able to do like mom talk. So we found commonalities, but then we also found differences, and we were able to create conversations around that. Safe conversations. I wasn't telling her this is what me and my husband are going through on day 1. You know, we're talking diapers, fondant brands, customer experiences. So, you know, it started out very fluffy, but because we had the commonality of being in this cake world together, we were able to have conversations around that, but then expand on differences and commonalities past that. So it gave us a lot of subject matter to talk about, right? So when you're going into these situations, because you're finding people who have similar interests, start there, but then also bring in and celebrate your differences. It gives you so much content to talk about that's not other people's business. Okay. Because you also don't want to be building friendships based off of discussing other people's business, because your business might come up next. I'm just saying. We're not going to pretend like that's not out there too. Okay. That is how you start to feel more comfortable sharing, but in a safe way. Because if she goes and she talks to her family or her sisters or her friends about my favorite diaper brand or something that I've shared, like a childhood story that I've shared that I'm comfortable with, I'm not going to feel any way about that, right? Like if I meet her sister or one of her friends at another event and they're like, oh, I heard that you liked this pamper brand, tell me more. I'm not going to be like, oh, how dare you? So it's a safe way to practice having conversations around multiple different subjects and to actually get to know that person without sacrificing too much. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if that makes sense. So now let's talk about maintaining these connections, because that's going to be the most important thing to really build that foundation and to really build your tribe. And I'm sure a lot of you all can relate to this, like between the multiple hats that we wear, wife, mom, I'm an entrepreneur, but you could be an employee and entrepreneur, because I was there too. And then not to forget our family obligations, like our extended family relationships as well. Don't get me started on adding the kids' activities to that schedule, because girl, I thought having newborns were hard. Baby, with these 2 kids in multiple different activities, this schedule is insane. But that's not what we're here to talk about. How do you go about maintaining these new connections that you're making? Because this is how you transform new connections into lifelong friends, the maintenance phase. I want you to be very intentional about setting up and planning activities. Like, take it upon yourself to actually plan activities for y'all to do. And it doesn't always have to be like, let's go and spend a bunch of money activity. It doesn't always have to be lunch or dinner or going out. I don't know if you've had jobs like this, but you know, when your company will bring you to like little retreats, so to have those team building, bonding type of activities, and they have the little games or the puzzles that you play that kind of force you to have to communicate and come up with strategies to solve the thing together. These are perfect activities to use to really get to know people and build that connection stronger, because there is nothing that strengthens a relationship more than feeling it's us against a thing. Okay, and it doesn't need to be a dramatic thing where it's me and you against the world, girl, or it's me and you against a person. It can be me and you trying to solve this escape room. And then you also want to do activities that give you something to do, but in an environment that allows conversation to happen. So candle making classes, pottery classes, perfume making classes, cooking classes is a great one too. Taking hikes. Oh, a winery tour, girl. These are all great examples of things that you can do together. You can also like organize a volunteer opportunity or any kind of event around the activity that y'all both hold in common. My friend and I actually used to host classes, like cooking class, not cooking classes, child, I don't cook, cake making classes together. And not only does it give you the activity to bond around. Just the process of planning that class together and all of the prep work that goes into it is time that you have to spend together, which is only going to aid in you guys bonding or not. Okay, so either you finding out this is my girl, or maybe this is just a good acquaintance, and that is not a bad thing either. Okay, everybody's not meant to be your best friend. That connection will develop as it's supposed to if you are allowing the opportunity and the time to be there for that relationship. Make sure that you're being intentional about carving out space to really get to know this person and spend time with said person. One of the things that I've started to do recently is basically coordinate schedule with my friends to cook dinner at the same time. So that way I can be FaceTiming or just have my AirPod in my ear and talking while we're cooking dinner, because I personally don't like cooking. So it helps me too, because I'm doing something else that I like to do, yap in my mouth, and catching up with my girlfriends while I'm knocking out this task. The same thing can be done for like folding clothes or just finding a household chore that is kind of like mindless. You don't really have to think about it, and using that space to be when we do phone calls. But that's another way to give yourself time, especially if you're busy, is pairing that activity with a mindless task. Okay, it might take me a little longer to fold the laundry because of all the laughing that I'm going to be doing, but if that is very important to you, you will make time. You just want to make sure that you can tell the difference between somebody being truly busy or just choosing to not have time for you, because those are two different experiences, and you want to invest your time into somebody who is also investing their time in you. So I do want to add a little bit of actual eyeshadow on my lids. Y'all know I love a good bronzer in the lids and go moment, but I just got this palette which has some really cute colors, so I do want to, get a little fancy for the girls. See what I can do. Nothing crazy. Do I even have eyeshadow brushes? In addition to being intentional with making sure that you have time, or you create time to spend with those new friendships or those connections that you're making, I also want you to let people show you who they actually are. Who we are as people will be revealed unless you're dealing with somebody who's like hella narcissistic and a great actress. I mean, I just don't know. But pay attention to character traits. Pay attention to how that person speaks about other people in your presence, other relationships that they have in your presence, because that people, we tend to tell on ourselves, right? So as long as you are really paying attention and observing that person while you're in these situations, while you're doing the activities, you will get to know that person for who they really are, not just who they're showing you. Okay, I think that introverts excel in this area because we tend to be more observant. I'm not saying go with the intention of catching red flags and catching the person up in a lie or something like that. The goal is to focus on the green flags while also paying attention to what this person says and does, okay? Because if what they're saying does not align with their actions, then that's something that, okay, need to focus on, right? Like I picked that up. Let's see what's going on here, right? And also carry Holy Spirit with you in these situations. Like, invite him into these spaces when you're around other people. Ask him to give you the spirit of discernment so that you are investing your time into relationships that he believes are going to be beneficial for you. In all things, invite Holy Spirit in so that you are not, I don't want to say wasting your time, but if the intention is to make genuine connections, then you want to make sure that the person that you are spending this time with, because we don't have that much of it. If I'm carving out time for you, then I want to make sure that you are also like-minded and you're being genuine with your intentions towards me. Pay attention to how they behave when you make plans. Are they always flaky? Do things always come up? Are they also making it a priority to get to know you? I am not saying that they need to be doing exactly what you are doing in order to get to know them, because we also have to give people grace for how they show interest and show love. How you love someone or how you get to know someone is not going to be the same across the board for everybody. Their actions will show you how important this relationship is to them as well, or getting to know you is to them as well, and that'll help you save time and not waste it. Okay, let me set this face and then go finish my hair. You know, I'm going to be using my One Size Beauty Until Dawn setting spray. So I rewrapped my bun and I pulled out some pieces so that I can curl them to give us that whimsical, effortless look that we're going for. I'm taking my T3 flat iron to do this. You can do this with a curling iron or a wand if you want to. I'm just going to do flat iron curls. So while you are looking for those green flags and paying attention to anything that seems a little off, I do want you to keep in mind where you fit into all of this, your own personality, and what you can do to be a better friend, a better person, what you're trying to get out of these relationships, what your intentions are. Because as much as we don't want to be used by people, other people don't want to be used either. So make sure that you're going into these situations with really good intentions and a pure heart in mind. Don't be out here trying to require the most from people and require more than what you yourself are willing to give. Okay, so if you're looking for somebody who's going to be supportive, if you're looking for a real good girlfriend, be a really good girlfriend. The best relationships are a good balance of give and take. And I'm not saying it's going to be 50-50 or you're going to find your equal match in friendships, because no, everybody walks through different seasons of life, right? And right now you might be going through a season where you can give. Your next season might be, I need a little bit more grace this season, girl, bear with me. And that is fine. When we're trying to make connections and foster these kind of environments where relationships can be born out of, or really good friendships can develop, you do have to offer a level of vulnerability that opens you up to being hurt, not devastated, not ran over, but you just cannot go out there expecting somebody to pry you open or peel you back like an onion. That's what therapy is for. I just want us to be realistic in our expectations of people and our expectations of adult friendships. As you go out there and you set your boundaries, you're also the one who's going to be responsible for voicing those boundaries. Do not expect people to just know how you want to be loved, how you feel respected, how you feel validated. That is something that you're going to have to become comfortable with voicing and sharing with people. It can be uncomfortable, but if you are looking for a tribe, if you're looking for sisterhood, they are not going to be able to respect those boundaries if you do not share them. And you also have to be willing to be receptive to other people's boundaries as well. This is not just all about you. Remember, relationships, even friendships, are a two-way street. With that being said, let's go throw on some clothes. Okay, sis, I am ready for my Valentine's Day event. I'll make sure to pop in a full body picture or video of me in this dress because phenomenal. I did add a little camisole up underneath here because I already know the type of festivities that me and the girls are about to get into, and so I don't need anything showing or slipping for anyone else's eyes. Okay, so I add a little camisole, but you definitely can do this with like some body tape or whatever. I'm just going the fully covered way. But while I am ready for my Valentine's event, I hope that you are now ready to meet, connect, and make really good friendships this year and moving forward. Let me know if this video was able to help you, or if you had any other questions or anything else I can touch a little bit more on. Definitely check out some of my other videos if you like this type of content, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.